This might be one of the best bits of video we'll review all week, which is one of Donald Trump's most avid, hardcore supporters saying, I don't know if this whole Trump tariff concession thing is what MAGA media is spinning it to be. So as you know, Laura Ingraham, the Fox News host, her whole job is being a pro-Trump propagandist. And even she spoke about last night, responding to the news that Trump had paused, after pausing the Mexico tariffs for a month, had paused the Canadian tariffs for a month because they conceded a big concession, giving him a deal they had already announced before, or not even a deal, giving him an investment package related to the northern border that weeks ago they had already published and outlined. But I guess reiterating it was enough for Trump, and that's being coined as a huge win when it's actually undermining a really important relationship and pushing Canadians toward harming our economy by not buying our products. So with that being said, even Laura Ingraham was a little bit confused as to what it is that Trump supposedly won here, and brought this up in a conversation with Patrick Bet-David. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button. We have a lot to go over in this segment, including something a little different that I'm going to try, which is, well, you'll see.
I'm not too impressed with the Canadian response, frankly. I mean, the fentanyls are, I don't know what that's going to do. And I guess they'll have a few helicopters flying at the border. I mean, it's not nothing, but they were going to get slapped with 25% tariffs, and now those are gone for at least 30 days. I'm not sure what's going to happen in 30 days. Maybe some other concessions, but I think President Trump saw a huge negative reaction to this, as I know you predicted, I predicted, from Wall Street, from the markets, from all the establishment types. Do you think he reacted to that?
Oh no. I'll show you Patrick Bet-David's reaction. But when you've lost Laura Ingraham, you know your whole stunt's not working. Again, if you're a YouTube viewer where you watch the individual segments and not the full show, then just, if you haven't yet watched it, I don't know where it'll be, but it's titled around a shocking Trump video, extensive breakdown we just did on the details of the game Trump's playing. Do go watch it after you watch this segment, but it's so brazen that even Laura Ingraham's going, I don't know if he got much. They said something about a fentanyl czar, and then promised him a plan they already had announced. It's too easy. But, I mean, it's a good play by them, because they don't want their economy to be attacked and collapse by Trump leveraging the full power of the U.S. economy to go after a neighbor that we mainly just benefit economically from. It doesn't make any sense. And Laura Ingraham also correctly identified, strangely enough, that the reason Trump probably put this pause on was not because he got big concessions, but he saw the reaction. He's seeing the reaction. And maybe even through his thick skull that you can barely get things through, even he is starting to realize maybe his whole tariffs are the most beautiful word and the best solution to everything pitch was flawed.
Or maybe some of his advisors said, whoa, we gotta rethink this.
I think President Trump is a guy that, in my opinion, likes to ask people, what do you think behind closed doors? But at the end of the day, he's a strategist. He's thinking 5, 10, 15 moves ahead. And
I'm not too...
A lot of these... Gosh, how do I say this in not an insulting way? Let me think. A lot of these big boy... No, that's not right. Big, strong... Gosh, this is tough. A lot of the in the bro sphere, the bro podcast sphere. The bro podcast sphere. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but a lot of these folks like to be portrayed as sort of alpha males. Maybe they want to use that term, but they want to be seen as strong, and they're not a sheep for anything, and they go their own way, and they are a man's man. Right? But then their entire career becomes being walked around on a leash like a poodle by Trump. And they just pretend like everything he's doing is perfect. He says, no, we're actually going through with the tariff plan. Oh, baby. These tariffs are about to somehow, despite all economic analysis, be really good for the U.S. economy. And then he goes, never mind, we're pausing them. And they go, oh, this guy is so perfect. And he's doing a masterful negotiation where he's getting concessions that aren't real concessions, but still it's awesome because undermining our relationship with close allies is based. Was the end of that sentence, but it ran out of air. And then he's going to place him back and they're going to go, oh yeah. So the great way that you cannot be caught in your own contradictions is by going, Trump does 11D chess. He's thinking 100 steps in the future. Meaning, however weird, he talked about the weave, however weirdly he weaves us into a disaster, trust and believe that it is going to be epic ultimately. You might only notice how great things got once a Democrat can come in and fix the problems that Trump leaves them. But trust me, eventually there's going to be a good outcome. Now, one of Trump's administration officials, Secretary, as disastrous as this is, of Homeland Security, oh no, Kristi Noem, yes, of cricket fame, she is making sure that none of the sunlight inside of this studio gets into her eyes with the cowboy hat that she has on. And here she also seems wildly confused about what it is that her boss is doing.
You know, Madam Secretary, economists all across the board are warning that ultimately tariffs lead to higher prices for consumers, and that these tariffs in particular could see prices increase on food, electronics, and cars. The president himself acknowledging this morning these tariffs could cause, quote, some pain. How is this move helping President Trump fulfill his campaign promise to lower prices?
You've seen the president take action already this week with Colombia, and you saw Colombia react in a very positive way that was good for everyone involved. Canada, Mexico, other countries have the opportunity to do exactly the same. So we have a strong leader. He has laid down exactly what he...
So before she says the next part, which is what I want to respond to, just so you know, we already went through today why it's not true that Trump's getting big wins. It's so infuriating. All these people, again, going back to the Patrick Bet-David example, I just, and it's nothing against him personally, but they just become the biggest sheep of all sheeps for Trump. That's not, just because you're not a sheep for the lib media, whatever they believe, doesn't mean you're not still a sheep.
He is going to do and what the consequences are. I encourage their leadership teams to get on board and to make sure that they're not pushing up prices. If prices go up, it's because of other people's reactions to America's laws. And that's what President Trump is doing. He is making sure that we're not picking and choosing winners and losers, that the law applies equally to everybody, American citizens. It applies to those who are here illegally, and our world leaders across the country and across the world. They can help us, or they're going to face some consequences.
Okay, yeah, so that's what she says. Wow. So she says the world leaders in other countries, is what she's asserting, need to just not raise prices. That's the solution. He can stop the tariffs, but world leaders just can't do the thing that would cause prices. All right, here's what we need to do. I need to explain this. So let's change location a little bit. So let's take this over to the whiteboard. Jaden had a good idea, and you can see I had one attempt at drawing a cowboy hat before we started here. That didn't go well. Hold for that. It's going to be good. So sometimes I just mock folks like Kristi. Let me explain it to her instead, just in real basic terms. She seems to think that people should just not decide to raise the prices. It almost sounds like she's saying that foreign countries should just decide not to raise the prices then, because that's really what's causing it. Misunderstanding, as MAGA does, as Trump does. Of course, tariff is taxing a U.S. company that's importing foreign goods. So to make it simple, let's say that Kristi decides that awesome hat she has on inside for some reason, that's my best cowboy hat, that she wants to sell cowboy hats. So she starts a cowboy hat company, and the best cowboy hats she can find are in a different country. So she's buying cowboy hats from a different country, bringing them to the United States, and then selling them to US consumers. She buys them from the foreign country for $1, okay? And then, let's take another stab at this. Here's a beautiful cowboy hat. To sell to the consumer, she sells it for $2. So that when we do 2 minus 1, we get 2 minus 1. And she has $1 left over. And then she structured, let's pretend it's a small business, her entire small business, that $1, that margin for all of the different cowboy hats that she sells, then is what funds the business, pays her employees, etc. So then the reason why Trump's tariffs would increase the cost of her cowboy hats is, let's say from one of the tariffed countries she's importing, as I said, the cowboy hat. Let's draw it again here. It's just getting worse and worse. Now that looks like a shoe with a strange heel or a boat. But instead of just buying it from a foreign country for $1, she buys it for $1, but a 25% tariff slapped on that. So $1.25 now is what she bought it for. A fourth of what she previously had left over for each cowboy that she bought then sold to a consumer, taken away. So her business, she can't now pay people because she was relying on that money. So the only way that she can make her business structure make sense is to sell cowboy hats now to consumers for, I'm sorry guys, I should have practiced more. I'm not good at drawing, is $2.25 so that she has the same money left over for all of her business things. Now, it's more expensive. That's the conclusion. Okay. All right, so hopefully that clears things up. And now here you have Trump saying something that is as confused as Noam was.
I'm speaking with Prime Minister Trudeau tomorrow morning, and I'm also speaking with Mexico tomorrow morning. And I don't expect anything very dramatic. We put tariffs on. They owe us a lot of money, and I'm sure they're going to pay.
They owe us a lot of money. What is he talking about? Well, he often says that we're being ripped off and that we're sending billions and billions of dollars to these foreign countries with the deficit we have. That's what he says. What are you talking about? Trade deficit. And it portrays a you know, I think we're going to have to go back to the board. Let's take it back to the board one more time to explain this to Trump. Okay, so let's go back to the whiteboard. Trump constantly asserts as if there's some money they owe us, that anytime we have a trade deficit with a country, we're being ripped off. That inherently trade deficit means someone's ripping us off. We're paying them money. What is a trade deficit? It's just the difference between what we buy in stuff from their country versus what they buy of stuff from our country. But to imagine this, let's put it in terms of people. Let's imagine the United States is just a guy. And actually, because the United States has more people than Canada, let's imagine it's a family of people, okay? So a family of people, and they live next to, these are only the people in the whole universe that we're exploring. They live next to another person who says a boat. And this person has, let's say, $1 in the bank. These people have $10 in the bank. Both parties here make stuff, okay? So stuff, they're making stuff, this guy's making stuff, and they can buy from each other because they're next to each other, right? Do you think that this family will be able to buy more stuff from this guy than this guy is able to buy from this family? Well, for one, there's more people here, so they'll have more needs, so probably, right? And they have more money to buy stuff. Does that make sense? If they made a bunch of things, stuff of things, things of stuff, then this guy, he only has $1. He can't spend all that dollar on stuff from us, but we have, or this family has $10. So they have a lot more they can use to buy from that guy. And just because, let's say they spend $5 and he spends his whole dollar, and now there's a deficit of $4, we've spent 4 more on buying stuff from him than he bought from us, doesn't mean he's ripping us off. We just have more money to spend and more people to spend it and more consumers that, now I'm getting away from the analogy. But like, let's say they wanted to sell to each other. They also have more money to buy of his stuff to then sell to each other. So then bringing back that to reality, $27 trillion is the GDP of the United States. $2 trillion is the GDP of Canada. We have a lot more people and money, so it stands to reason that we'll have more wealth to buy stuff from them, and then often it's selling to each other, buy pieces of products, a part of a supply chain from them. And just because I think the trade deficit is like $80 billion, Trump's always misstating it, but it's like $80 billion, just because we happen to buy more of their stuff than they do of ours, doesn't mean anyone's being ripped off. It mostly just means we have a larger economy, thus more money to spend, and that does sometimes include more money to spend abroad in importing products from other countries that then become a part of stuff we're selling to each other. There it is. Another good explanation. So hopefully we've now taken everybody to school and are clear on that. Share your thoughts in the comments.